So a saying goes, if you love it, set it free, and if it comes back, it was always yours, or something like that. And that's kind of what happened here, because this isn't the same iBook that I ended up selling off because I kind of need a little bit of money last month, but it is a similar model. The story was, I had to offload my 800 megahertz dual USB iBook last month because, yeah, I went on a trip to Seattle and that unfortunately ended up costing a bit more money than I was expecting, and I had to raise a little bit of cash and sold it off to someone over in New York, which is kind of funny, as you'll see in a moment here. This came by way of Ryan because he is actually downsizing his collection. So he said, you can have this, and I have a 12-inch PowerBook G4, which was actually originally mine. This wasn't, though. So this has been bouncing around our friend group for quite a bit, I think. Originally, it was our friend Noah's, who lives in Texas. It was given off to Ryan, and then now it is in my possession. And yeah, it's an iBook. There are many like it. But one, this one is mine. And two, this is one of the cleanest examples of one of these iBooks I think I've seen in my life. It looks pretty good from the outside, but there are micro scratches all over it, as there usually are on these. And if we flip it over, we can see that this originally belonged to a school district. In this case, Downsville Central School District. And that's actually in New York, near where the person I sold my other iBook to is. So kind of funny that I would get this in a completely unrelated transaction. Attributing to the cleanness here, you can see we have all 4 feet still on the system. That is a miracle, because normally these systems are missing 1, 2, or more feet. The battery is usually missing its foot. And if I unlock the battery here, we can see this is an original OEM battery, and it may look a little bit weird here, but this is before Apple started using, I believe the font is Lucida Grande, or that could be, that's the font they use in macOS. This is before they started using the typeface they became known for during the Steve Jobs era. So there's a reason why this is looking like, I believe that's Helvetica. Put that back in, and we'll lock the battery back down. And one of the few places where it looks like there is some use is this battery tab here. It's got a little bit of wear on it, not too much. But if we get a bit closer here, you can see the same typeface over here. It is looking like Helvetica, because this is a 2001 model, again, before Apple switched over to that font on their products. Let's give it the tour around side. Again, note how just clean this thing is. We have our optical drive, which was tray loading at the time. Fairly clean. We got our DC in jack with our smaller barrel style connector. We got the rear hinge. We've got the port selection, for which this machine is known by its name, the dual USB iBook. We do see a little bit of kind of bowing on the lid, but it's not bad. I mean, it's typical for these machines, but modem, Ethernet, Firewire 400, dual USB. I believe that's VGA out of some description, and composite slash headphone jack out with our air vent for the hard drive, because the hard drive is right there. And unfortunately, the hard drive in here is spinning rust, and it is very, very slow. So yeah, notice just how clean all around this thing is. And it hasn't seen that much use, because if I go ahead and hit the button here, it still has the pop to it. With these machines, normally the hinge is getting so worn at this point that I have to actually hit the button, get a finger in here, and then manually pull it up. And this hinge is just got a lot of resistance in it, so it's not seen a lot of use. My theory is that this machine was either put in a laptop cart and forgotten about, or a teacher used it on their desk and they used an external keyboard and mouse, because there is not a hint of wear on any of these components. There is no shiny spots on the keyboard, none on the trackpad, and usually this is like worn down to a glass-like surface by now. The button has no wear whatsoever. Nothing here has any wear on it. And if I bring this closer, you can actually see there's nothing between the keys. Nothing. It's white. Like, there's nothing, there's no dirt, no grime, no nothing under here. It's crazy. This thing has been unused, like, from just the typical rigors of everyday life. Further evidenced is these little rubber stoppers up here. There is no wear on any of them. In fact, the example I'm going to use here to describe what that would normally look like is the 12-inch PowerBook G4 that I have here. Once again, there is no pop in the hinge. I have to reach in and grab it. But as you can see, it's worn down almost to the metal. And this machine is actually another rare example. It does have all of its feet intact, but this machine does have very clear use signs, and the keyboard does have some mileage on it. You can see some shiny spots, not terrible though. And the trackpad does have a little bit of gloss to it. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm evaluating how many miles the keyboard and trackpad have on them. So yeah, let's go ahead and start this thing up, shall we? As we hit the desktop, we are running 9.2.2 on this machine, and I do believe it is running 10.1 for OS 10, but at some point I will put probably 10.2 on here, because that's the version of 10 I'm more nostalgic about, and the original owner had stickies running on this thing, so get that out of the way. Keyboard works perfectly fine. Battery is reporting a little over half capacity. I have not fully charged it yet, but let's go to System Profiler and see what she's packing. So we do have 576 megabytes, so there is, I believe, 64 built in, and then another 512 on the single module that you get. So this machine is pretty much maxed out, I believe. It is PC 100, so yes, it's going to be maxed out, because I do not believe they made 1 gigabyte SODIMMs for PC 100. 8 megabytes of video RAM, not bad, not bad. So this is a weaker machine than the one I sold. It is a 500 megahertz model, which the one I had was 800, and this would place it very slightly above my toilet seat iBook G3, which is kind of fitting, because everything that machine can do, I have my iBook to handle, so it's kind of good that it isn't butting up too close to that machine, and it's kind of closer to the potato machines in my fleet here, because I don't know why I adore them a little bit more. But yeah, let's go to devices and volumes and see what it's got. Things all the drives, and we have USB and FireWire and nothing on those. Hard drive is a Toshiba, and it is only 10 gigs. I believe this Toshiba drive is 4,200 RPM, which would explain why it's so slow, but not bad for the time. We got 6 gigs available, so that's kind of perfectly fine because we have OS 10 installed. CD-ROM drive is no DVD, but it is a burner, which is quite nice, actually. And then our built-in display card is a Rage M3, so pretty sure this thing will have some level of gaming prowess for the time. Probably won't run things max settings, obviously, but it's better than nothing at all. So one of the fun things with this machine, even though I don't have any software loaded on it, is a bit of an Easter egg. The Dragon 1 soundboard. So we have the beta, which I believe is older than just the original soundboard, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun. Pop it right open, and there's the soundboard. And yes, it all works.
Please put your penguin floppy in your computer, alright? Look at this, man. It's a Quantum Bigfoot TX 8 gigabytes with... It's Howard time. What? Gradients! Gradients!
Oh man, that was a good era of YouTube right there. I miss Dragon 1 so much. So yeah, you may notice we've just been doing all this on battery power too. It's crazy. Like, the battery still works. I don't know what it is. I just keep getting lucky with batteries on these damn things. Like, they just work. It's so weird. For our last test, before we wrap up this look at this interestingly clean iBook, I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in a disc to test out that optical drive. Normally I would put in an audio CD, but I do not want to get tagged by the copyright mafia, so we're gonna go ahead and just hit that eject button. And Mac OS 9 doesn't know how to work with an eject button. I forgot. And now the battery is threatening to kill on us, so let's go ahead and get some power up in this joint. So yeah, I spoke a little too soon on that battery, didn't I? This is As It Happens video, folks, to take a phrase out of UXW Bill's book, but I have a copy of Mac OS 8.5 here. Pop that in, and we got a perfect alignment on the screen, but I kind of had to do all that because the battery decided I'm gonna die. But as you can see, there it is, macOS Internal Edition, and before anybody's like, oh my god, that's internal software, yeah, this is on Macintosh Garden, don't sweat it. So yeah, pretty cool, huh? And that's really the video right there. I can't really show much, again, because I don't have my software loaded onto here, and I don't plan on doing it until I can put an SSD into it, because I'd rather not load this hard drive up with stuff that's just going to get wiped anyway. So, yeah, if you liked the video, do the YouTube engagement stuff, and if you didn't, well, also do the YouTube engagement stuff in the opposite direction, I guess. Till next time, I will see you guys later.